Good Times, 1974 to 1979, was a groundbreaking sitcom that captured the heart of a generation with its blend of humor, heart, and hard truths about life in a struggling Chicago neighborhood. The show broke barriers, launched careers, and gave us unforgettable characters like JJ, Florida, and James Evans. But while the laughter lives on, the lives of many cast members were touched by tragedy. In this video, we take a closer look at the talented actors behind the iconic roles, and the heartbreaking real-life stories of those we've lost. From sudden deaths to personal struggles, discover the untold fates of the stars who brought Good Times to life. Jeanette Duboce was born on August 5, 1932, and began portraying Willona Woods in 1974 at the age of 42. Willona was the sharp-tongued, fashion-forward neighbor whose fiery independence masked deep loneliness. Off-screen, Duboce crafted a public persona of elegance, but the truth was far more layered. Her career began with promise, but tension followed, rumors of clashes with producers over creative control and uncredited contributions to the Good Times theme song haunted her legacy. Behind the glamour, Duboce's love life was marked by mystery. She kept her children's father's identity secret, and some insiders whispered about hidden affairs with powerful men in Hollywood. She endured devastating personal losses, including the death of a child, which pushed her into deep bouts of isolation. Though she presented warmth, crew members described moments of diva-like behavior, with accusations of being impossible during shooting delays. She died on February 17, 2020, at age 87, from cardiac arrest. John Amos, born December 27, 1939, began portraying James Evans Sr. in 1974 at the age of 35. James Evans Sr. was the strong, dedicated patriarch of the Evans family, whose work ethic and love for his children defined the show's emotional core. Amos' portrayal was raw, captivating, and incredibly powerful. Despite his career success, Amos faced turbulent personal battles later in life, including a bitter falling out with Good Times producers after a contract dispute, which led to his controversial exit from the show. His career faltered for years, with roles becoming scarce and his reputation clouded by whispers of a difficult temper and demands for greater creative control. As he aged, his personal life became increasingly troubled, including allegations of elder abuse and financial exploitation by his daughter, though he and his son vehemently denied these accusations. His struggle with family betrayal overshadowed his later years, but he remained committed to his craft. Amos passed away at 84 on August 21, 2024, from congestive heart failure. Esther R was born on November 8, 1920, and stepped into the role of Florida Evans in 1974 when she was 54. Florida was a pillar of moral authority, but R herself often battled the very forces of hypocrisy in the industry. While she fought hard behind the scenes for a positive black family representation, her clashes with producers, especially over JJ's comedic buffoonery, led to her temporary exit from the show. R was never shy about voicing discontent, which earned her a reputation as difficult. Her personal life mirrored her stoic screen presence. A short-lived marriage ended in bitterness, and friends say she became emotionally distant in her later years, obsessed with her legacy. Rumors swirled of a bitter feud with co-star Jimmy Walker, and many claimed she never forgave Hollywood for sidelining her after Good Times. Suffering from diabetes and loneliness in her final decade, she died on November 17, 1998, at age 78. Johnny Brown was born on June 11, 1937, and began playing the bumbling building superintendent Nathan Bookman in 1975 at the age of 38. While Bookman was a comic relief, Brown's real-life struggle was no laughing matter. Initially a singer and impressionist, his career stalled after Good Times, and he was quietly blacklisted for allegedly offending a producer during a drunken rant at a rap party. Though beloved by fans, cast insiders whispered about his tendency to overstep lines for a laugh, leading to friction with directors. His marriage endured, but his finances did not. he filed for bankruptcy in the early 1990s, forcing him into small-time gigs at comedy clubs just to stay afloat. Despite the jovial facade, he was plagued by chronic health issues, depression, and a deep bitterness over his stalled career. He died on March 2, 2022, of heart failure at the age of 84. Moses Gunn, born October 2, 1929, began his role as Carl Dixon on Good Times in 1977 at age 48. Carl was Florida Evans' gentle, supportive love interest, a stark contrast to the private man behind the scenes. A classically trained actor, Gunn was known for his fiery temper and fierce pride, which often alienated colleagues. Though respected in the theater world, he struggled in Hollywood, once being blacklisted temporarily after a heated altercation with a director. His personal life was turbulent, his marriage was marked by infidelity and periods of separation, and he was estranged from his son during his final years. Friends noted Gunn's growing bitterness about racial barriers in the industry, and he often refused roles he deemed demeaning, which limited his opportunities. Rumors circulated of him physically threatening producers during contract disputes. He died on December 16, 1993, from complications related to asthma, at age 64. Ben Powers, born July 5, 1950, joined Good Times in 1978 at the age of 28 as Keith Anderson, the athlete whose dreams were crushed by a career-ending injury. Behind the scenes, Powers' own downfall mirrored his character's fate. Once poised for stardom, Powers' stint on Good Times was short-lived, reportedly due to behind-the-scenes jealousy and accusations of unprofessional behavior. His abrupt disappearance from the industry sparked rumors. Some claimed he struggled with addiction, others whispered of a violent outburst on set that led to a quiet dismissal. His marriage was fraught with infidelity, and he later became estranged from several of his children. The handsome, charming actor faded from public view, resurfacing occasionally with cryptic social media posts about betrayal and regret. His life ended in obscurity on April 6, 2015, when he died of liver cancer at age 64, surrounded by very few who remembered his brief time in the spotlight. Helen Martin was born on July 23, 1909, and portrayed the emotionally unstable weeping Wanda Williams in Good Times beginning in 1974, when she was 65. Wanda was known for her loud wailing and eccentric behavior, offering both humor and discomfort in equal measure. Off-screen, Martin harbored resentment toward Hollywood's treatment of older black actresses, often criticizing the industry's lack of serious roles for women like her. Despite her polished stage background, she was rarely given dramatic parts and reportedly clashed with producers over typecasting. Martin lived alone in Los Angeles, where neighbors described her as secretive and aloof. She had no children and was rumored to have had a long-standing affair with a married director in the 1950s, a secret she never acknowledged. While she avoided major scandals, insiders noted her disdain for younger performers and her icy demeanor on set. She died of a heart attack on March 25, 2000, at age 90. Teddy Wilson was born on December 10, 1943, and debuted as the flashy underworld figure Sweet Daddy Williams in 1976 at age 33. His character dripped charisma, but Wilson's own life was a whirlwind of unresolved demons. Though his performance captivated audiences, Wilson was reportedly typecast afterward, leading to a cascade of small roles and increasing resentment. He battled with substance abuse during the late 70s, often showing up to sets visibly intoxicated. Colleagues described him as erratic and, at times, confrontational. A torrid affair with a married co-star on a different sitcom exploded into a public scandal that nearly destroyed his career. Divorced twice, Wilson had a strained relationship with his children and was largely isolated during his final years. He suffered a stroke on July 21, 1991, and died at only 47. Many who knew him believed it was a result of years of internal torment and unaddressed addiction. Bubba Smith, born February 28, 1945, joined Good Times in 1978 at age 33, playing Claude, a minor but imposing character. A former NFL star, Smith transitioned to acting but struggled with the change. His football injuries led to chronic pain and dependence on painkillers, which evolved into a broader substance abuse problem. Though known for his intimidating roles, off-camera he was plagued by mood swings and paranoia. Friends and co-stars reported that Smith would lash out verbally and was especially distrustful of white producers, whom he blamed for sidelining him. He never married and lived a reclusive life in his later years, declining roles and interviews. Allegations surfaced in the 1990s that he had physically intimidated multiple girlfriends, though no legal action was ever taken. When he died alone in his home on August 3, 2011 at 66, the cause was determined to be acute drug intoxication. James Weaten, born on January 11, 1924, was 50 when he first appeared as bailiff in Good Times in 1974. Weaten's portrayal of the stern, no-nonsense character became iconic, but his career was overshadowed by frustrations with Hollywood's treatment of black actors. Despite his talent, he struggled with limited opportunities in mainstream television and film, often facing racial barriers that left him angry and resentful. His personal life was a whirlwind of instability, having been married twice with both marriages ending in acrimonious divorces. He had a distant relationship with his only daughter, who later accused him of emotional neglect. Weaten's bitterness was not hidden from those around him. He was often described as difficult to work with, and many directors refused to cast him due to his constant grievances about being typecast. He spent his later years teaching acting, but even in this role, he maintained a stern, authoritative attitude that often alienated his students. James Weaten died of heart failure on June 9, 2002, at age 78. Richard Ward was born on March 15, 1915, and began playing Henry Evans in Good Times in 1975 at the age of 60. Henry was a stern yet caring father figure, mirroring the gravitas Ward brought to his roles. However, his real life was chaotic. Ward battled alcoholism for decades and was involved in several bar brawls, including one that nearly ended his career. He went through multiple divorces, one of which ended in a public courtroom scandal involving accusations of domestic abuse. Ward often clashed with directors, walking off set on more than one occasion due to script changes. Though his acting chops were undeniable, producers found him difficult and unpredictable. In his later years, he was plagued by depression and isolated from most of his family. He died of a heart attack on July 1, 1979, at the age of 64, largely forgotten by an industry that once praised his potential. Alice Ghostly, born on August 14, 1923, was 54 when she began portraying Hortense Dobbs in Good Times in 1977. Hortense was a quirky, eccentric neighbor who injected humor and disruption into the show's tense moments. While Ghostly was beloved for her comedic timing and charm, her career took a downturn in the 80s, often being relegated to minor, typecast roles. Off-screen, she was a private woman with few close friends, known to be secretive and emotionally distant. There were whispers about a long-term, hidden romance with another actress, though Ghostly never publicly acknowledged it. Her personal life was marked by tragedy as she never married, and her career's decline led her to retreat further into seclusion. She had a complicated relationship with Hollywood, often clashing with directors and writers over character portrayals, which left her in a series of frustrating, unfulfilling roles. In her final years, Ghostly battled colon cancer and depression, ultimately passing away on September 21, 2007, at age 84. Louis Gossit Jr., born May 27, 1936, was 38 years old when he began playing Donald Knight in 1974. As Thelma Evans' mature love interest, his character was a stabilizing presence, respected for his calm demeanor. However, Gossit's life off-screen told a darker tale. Despite his career triumphs, including an Oscar for An Officer and a Gentleman, he grappled with personal demons, including alcoholism and struggles against systemic racism in Hollywood. His early years were marred by substance abuse, often resulting in erratic behavior and public scandal. He faced legal troubles, including a string of failed marriages, and there were rumors of violent outbursts in personal relationships. His image as a suave leading man was marred by these turbulent years. Gossit's later life was defined by rehabilitation, as he fought to rebuild his health and reputation. He passed away at the age of 87 from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, on March 29, 2024. Adam Wade, born March 17, 1935, was 43 when he began playing Frank Mason in Good Times in 1978. Frank was charming and confident, a role that seemed to reflect Wade's own charismatic persona. However, Wade's career was marked by underachievement. After a promising start in the music industry, his success as a crooner quickly waned, leading him to pivot into acting, but with limited success. Though he became the first black game show host, he never reached the heights of fame he once anticipated, and his dissatisfaction with his career became apparent. His personal life was tumultuous, including a troubled marriage and a strained relationship with his son, who struggled with drug addiction. Wade was known to drink heavily, and some insiders alleged that his alcohol use affected his professional behavior. His health deteriorated in later years due to Parkinson's disease, which he fought with little public acknowledgement. Adam Wade passed away on July 7, 2022, at age 87, from complications related to Parkinson's disease. Ron Glass, born July 10, 1945, was 29 years old when he played Mr. Anderson on Good Times in 1974. Glass was known for his commanding presence and authoritative roles, and his portrayal of Mr. Anderson, a minor yet memorable character, showcased his versatility. However, his career, though steady, was not without its blemishes. In 2015, Glass faced a DUI scandal that threatened to tarnish his clean image. Yet despite this lapse, he remained widely respected for his skill as an actor, particularly for his iconic roles in Barney Miller and Firefly. His personal life, though relatively quiet, was far from perfect. Rumors circulated about difficult relationships with fellow actors, and he often struggled with maintaining stability in his private life. Glass' later years were marked by battles with health issues, eventually leading to his untimely passing from respiratory failure at age 71 on November 25, 2016. Thalmus Razulawa, born November 15, 1939, was 36 when he began portraying Ernie Harris in Good Times in 1975. Ernie was a strong, opinionated character who often challenged the status quo, and Razulawa brought a raw intensity to the role. Though he was praised for his performances, Razulawa's career suffered when the rise of blaxploitation films led to him being typecast, unable to break free from the roles he found limiting. He grew frustrated with the industry's refusal to offer him more diverse roles and became increasingly vocal about racial discrimination in Hollywood. His personal life mirrored his professional struggles. Razulawa was married twice, with both unions ending in bitter divorces. He had a contentious relationship with his children, particularly his son, who later accused him of emotional neglect. Known for his quick temper, Razulawa's outbursts were infamous on set, leading to friction with both directors and co-stars. He died from a heart attack on October 9, 1991, at age 55. Bill Henderson was born on March 19, 1926, and stepped into Good Times as the nightclub owner in 1976, aged 50. Though a minor character, his smooth-talking, streetwise presence brought a slice of real-world grit to the show. Off-screen, Henderson was a jazz legend, but the transition to acting proved rocky. Known in the club scene for womanizing and volatile rants while drinking, Henderson once stormed offstage mid-performance after accusing a fellow musician of stealing his arrangement. His daughter once revealed he was absent for most of her life and only sought reconciliation in his twilight years. His reputation as a control freak made him notoriously difficult on set. One director allegedly banned him after a screaming match over a lighting cue. Despite moments of brilliance, Henderson's acting career fizzled, overshadowed by his ego and erratic behavior. He died on April 3, 2016, aged 90, from natural causes, leaving behind a legacy revered in music, but marred by behind-the-scenes clashes and fractured relationships. Pauline Meyers, born on November 9, 1913, took on the role of Lena Anderson in Good Times in 1976 at the age of 63. On screen, Lena was a fiery, no-nonsense woman whose presence, though brief, commanded attention with her unapologetic grit. Behind the camera, however, Myers's career bore the scars of a bitter industry that often cast her aside. Despite her early acclaim on stage, Hollywood rarely welcomed her with open arms. Meyers was known to lash out at producers who gave preference to lighter-skinned black actresses, a stance that allegedly led to multiple blackballings. She never married, and rumors persisted of a long, destructive affair with a prominent married director that ended in humiliation. Friends described her later years as reclusive and paranoid, often accusing others of sabotaging her career. Known for her explosive temper, she reportedly slapped a crew member during a shoot, which quietly led to her being written off future projects. Pauline Meyers died on December 8, 1996, at the age of 83, from heart failure. DeForest Kovven, born on September 9, 1917, appeared in Good Times as Reverend Beasley in 1978 at age 61. A preacher on screen, he projected wisdom and calm, but real life painted a different picture. Kovven had been a celebrated tap dancer in the 40s, yet bitterly resented the entertainment industry's shift away from vaudeville. He never adjusted, and that resentment bled into his relationships. He was notoriously tight-lipped, rarely giving interviews and known to fire agents who booked him for comedic or demeaning roles. Former friends recall his heavy drinking and isolation after his wife's sudden death, which some claim triggered violent mood swings. A hidden scandal surfaced in the late 90s when a memoir by a former dancer hinted at Kovven's alleged abuse toward protégés, whom he accused of stealing his legacy. Although no charges were ever filed, whispers shadowed him until the end. He died on September 8, 2007, aged 89, from natural causes, one day before his 90th birthday, in Erie, quiet close to a life built on rhythm and regret. Gary Coleman, born February 8, 1968, played Gary Daniels in Good Times in 1978 at the age of just 10. Though his appearance was minor, he quickly skyrocketed to fame on Different Strokes. But behind the fame was a haunting reality. Coleman was exploited by his adoptive parents and manager, who drained his fortune. He sued them and won, but never recovered financially. His personal life was a string of disasters. He married Shannon Price in 2007, a volatile relationship marked by domestic violence allegations on both sides. They divorced a year later but continued to live together and fight publicly. Coleman struggled with kidney disease, depression, and a self-admitted addiction to anger. He once assaulted a fan at a bowling alley and was arrested for disorderly conduct in 2010. Castmates described him as unpredictable, defensive, and emotionally damaged by years of betrayal and loneliness. He died on May 28, 2010, at age 42, from a brain hemorrhage after a fall, alone, broke, and at war with the very people who once claimed to love him. Toby Black was born on May 10, 1940, and joined Good Times as Chopper in 1977 at the age of 37. His character exuded street toughness and charm, a role that mirrored Black's own layered persona. Known for his breakout on Ill Street Blues, his rising star quickly dimmed due to rumored clashes with network execs over his outspoken conservative views, particularly his support for abstinence and criticism of Hollywood's moral decay. This alienated both liberal allies and studio heads. Black never married but fathered multiple children. One son was imprisoned for drug offenses, a fact the actor tried desperately to keep out of the press. Though he adopted 10 children to present a wholesome image, insiders whispered that he was a controlling and emotionally distant father. On set, he had a reputation for sermonizing the castmates, sometimes delaying production. His insistence on leading prayer circles before scenes rubbed many the wrong way. Toby Black died on July 21, 2022, aged 82, from natural causes, but his complicated legacy still sparks debate among those who worked with him. Roseanne Cash, born December 31, 1938, was 38 years old when she joined Good Times in 1976 as Jessica Bishop. Her character, though minor, was a sharp-tongued, fiercely independent woman who challenged authority and social norms, traits that eerily mirrored Cash's off-screen demeanor. While Cash was praised for her powerful presence and acting range, behind the scenes, she was notoriously combative with directors and fellow actors, often clashing over script interpretations and power dynamics. Her refusal to conform to Hollywood's beauty standards and her open criticism of racism in the industry got her quietly blackballed by studios in the early 80s. Rumors swirled about a stormy romance with a married executive, which ended in a lawsuit that was quickly buried. Cash never married, and her relationships reportedly suffered due to her volatile temper and mistrust of men, stemming from a troubled childhood. Friends noted that she became increasingly reclusive in her final years, obsessively fearing betrayal. She died of cancer on October 31, 1995, at age 56. Alan Manson, born February 6, 1919, took on the role of Fred, a crooked Chicago cop, in Good Times at age 57 in 1976. The character, sly and sinister, mirrored Manson's reputation backstage, where he was known as a master manipulator who allegedly leveraged old Hollywood connections to secure roles others had been promised. Though celebrated for his stage career, Manson's past was stained by accusations of communist sympathies during the McCarthy era, leading to a brutal blacklisting that crippled his finances and left him bitter. He never fully recovered, and behind closed doors, he was infamous for tirades fueled by gin and jealousy. Several female colleagues later claimed he made inappropriate advances under the guise of career mentorship, though none were formally reported at the time. His final years were spent in quiet decline, surrounded by fading headshots and unpaid bills. He died of natural causes on March 5, 2002, at age 83. Charlotte Rae, born April 22, 1926, was 48 when she joined Good Times in 1974 as Ms. Rogers, a stern, no-nonsense figure who radiated both discipline and loneliness. Off-screen, Rae was no stranger to personal anguish. Though beloved by fans, her private life was filled with heartbreak. Most notably, her husband of 25 years, composer John Strauss, came out as bisexual in the late 1970s and left her, plunging Rae into a deep emotional spiral. She masked her pain with her career, but insiders recall her growing reliance on prescription tranquilizers and wine to get through long studio days. She was once caught yelling at a child actor on set, an incident hushed up by producers. Rae also struggled with her weight and body image, reportedly undergoing crash diets that left her hospitalized twice. Rumors persisted about a feud with co-star Lisa Whelchel during the Facts of Life over creative control and on-set favoritism. Despite her maternal on-screen image, Rae carried a bitterness about her career being reduced to quirky side roles. She died of bone cancer on August 5, 2018, at the age of 92. Who is your favorite character in Good Times? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.